Where does the real story lie with the Epstein story? And I think it's the money. Okay? That's the real story. I'll tell you about the billions that have gone to terrorists from the U.S. and Minnesota taxpayers here in a second. And when I talk about that, what most people will do is they'll fight over ICE. They'll say it's Islamophobia. They'll fight over CARE, whatever. USAID, when that went down, well, that was just about feeding hungry children. And it's all misdirection to get you away from the money. So let me bring this now to Epstein. When a bank detects suspicious activity, when they see something that looks like money laundering, human trafficking, tax evasion, sending money overseas to terrorists, they don't send a polite note to the supervisor in hopes somebody reads it. They are required by federal law after 9/11 to file what is called a SAR. It's a suspicious activity report, a SAR. They have to report that directly to the U.S. Treasury Department through FinCEN, Financial Center for Crimes. Okay. Once a SAR is filed, the bank isn't even allowed to tell you that they filed it. They just hit send. It's locked. The Treasury is notified. Now, this is a system, like I said, was built after 9/11, built after decades of financial corruption, a system designed that no single banker, no single executive, no single billionaire can make illicit money and then have it just disappear offshore. This is activated. If you draw $10,000 out of your account, you're moving $10,000, you get a SAR report and it goes directly to the Treasury. And when the bank flags something suspicious, the SAR is called a yellow ticket. And it's not a suggestion. It's not a memo. It is a federal alert that triggers monitoring by the Treasury, the FBI, Homeland Security, depending on what the flags indicate. Now that you understand that, let me talk to you about Jeffrey Epstein. Between 2002 and 2016, JPMorgan Chase filed 7 SARs, 7 yellow tickets on Epstein. 7 over 14 years. Those reports flagged a grand total of $4.3 million in sketchy activity. Okay. It's all, it's a decade plus, $4 million. You can make all kinds of excuses for that, right? But after Epstein died, when the government finally unsealed the sex trafficking details that they had held on to for years, JPMorgan Chase suddenly panicked because the floodgates suddenly opened. In 2019, 2 SARs were flagged. 2 SARs were sent to the Treasury. They flagged over 5,000 suspicious wire transfers. We're not talking $4 million. This is $1.3 billion. 5,000 suspicious activity transfers and transactions of $1.3 billion. Now, let me just say this clearly so nobody really misses the gravity of this. You do not accidentally forget to report 5,000 suspicious wires. You don't where did we put that $1.3 billion? Okay. You don't misplace $1 billion in wires to foreign banks and shell companies connected to then a convicted sex offender under federal investigation. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because a junior banker made a mistake. It doesn't happen because the compliance officer was sleepy. It doesn't happen because somebody's inbox was full. To not report that level of suspicious activities directly to the Treasury, first of all, is against all federal law. At a minimum, multiple officers, multiple departments, multiple sign-offs, choosing not to look. $1.3 billion, 5,000 suspicious activities. Why? Why did nobody report that? Well, now, according to internal emails, JPMorgan Chase held off the filing of the SARs. Now, let me ask you this. If you had if you withdrew $10,000 from your bank, Are you really clear that your bank would do what the federal government directs? And I have to report this, and it's going to go to the Treasury. Are you clear that they would do that on you? Because the answer is yes, they would. Federal law requires it. But the bank decided, well, we want to continue to work with Epstein. He's valuable. He's connected. He's a referral engine to some of the richest people in the world. He had sensitivities, according to the bank. Wire transfers to Russian banks. Wire transfers to shell corporations. Wire transfers from a guy who is engaged in sex trafficking. Links to top political figures, relationships with 2 U.S. presidents, both of whom Epstein at various times claimed to be very, very close with. Let me explain. This is something most people don't know. Banks file SARS, suspicious activity reports, to the Treasury for far less than this. $10,000. They flag it. A business wires to an unusual location. They flag it. It's sent to the Treasury. A client sends repetitive round number transfers to an unknown entity. They flag it. It goes to the Treasury. A wire connected to anything resembling terror or human trafficking or exploitation. They flag it right now. Banks don't wait for 5,000 suspicious transactions. They don't wait. They file over one. So how did Epstein get through 5,000 suspicious activity reports without triggering any alarms? Well, not because the alarms were broken, because they weren't. It's because somebody turned them off. I'd like to know who turned those off. I'd like to know why they were turned off. I would like to know if it was just the leadership of the bank. I'd like to know that every single one of those bank officers, all the way to the top, go to prison. Not some slap on the wrist, not some, well, you're well connected, so we're going to let this other guy pay for it. I want all of them in prison. You broke federal law, something we all of us have to abide by. We have had our Treasury, we've had our government snoop into our lives, watch everything we do, and we're not connected to human trafficking. We're not selling children. We're not convicted felons. We're not transferring $1.3 billion after we've been convicted. SARS are not, these suspicious activity reports, they are not decided by a single teller. They pass through compliance teams, risk divisions, bank lawyers, federal liaison officers. This isn't one bad apple. It's an entire system. And Senator Wyden, no conservative firebrand I might point out, is now openly saying what everybody knows privately, JPMorgan Chase should face criminal investigation. And it should go all the way to the top. And it should not be civil, it should be criminal. Because if you or I did this, if we had sent just a handful of suspicious wires, the bank would freeze your account, notify the Treasury before you could blink. But Jeffrey Epstein, $1 billion worth of exceptions. Wow, that seems much more important than a stupid birthday card. Let me ask you this, the question the DOJ doesn't want to touch. How many people does it take inside a bank to make 5,000 suspicious transactions just vanish for 17 years? Is it 5 people? Is it 10? Is it a department head, a board member? 5,000, $1.3 billion. Was Epstein, did it happen because Epstein was useful to the powerful? So nobody wanted to know? Did this happen because others were involved? Does it really matter what their excuse was? Here's the terrifying question. If a bank can look the other way on $1.3 billion for a sex trafficker, what else have the banks learned to ignore? I'm beginning to think the banks are a real problem. There's a new idea. This story isn't just about Epstein. This is about the machinery that allowed him to operate. All of the middlemen, all of the financial networks, all of the institutions that treated him like an asset instead of a criminal. And I do believe he was an asset. Intelligence asset. I do believe he was probably an asset to our intelligence, although I hear both sides. No, that's not true. Oh, yes, it's definitely true. I don't know what the truth is. I don't think it's unreasonable to say he was an asset for a foreign government, maybe Israel, maybe somebody else. I don't know. But also an asset for us. That happens all the time. Apparently, we do all kinds of horrible things. Why not? Senator Wyden says he wants to follow the money. Well, good. For the first time in a long time, maybe the money is finally pointing us somewhere, and it's not just here. And by the way, if anybody still believes this ends with one dead man in jail, I don't think you're paying attention. Because this is where it really leads.